Finding a new way for commuters to get in and out of West Seattle via Sound Transit's Link Light Rail has been a dream, years in the making.
The community is extremely excited about light rail.
But that excitement for West Seattle Junction Association Executive Director Laura Radford and other neighbors has taken a turn. Since 2016, when our region approved a $54 billion ST3 package, which includes light rail expansions to Ballard and West Seattle, Sound Transit has been working on where trains and tracks would actually go.
Next stop.
Over the past year, stakeholder groups and elected officials have narrowed down 3 options in West Seattle. 2 of them, the voter-approved red and the proposed alternative yellow, involve elevated tracks as high as 150 feet in some locations, going south of the West Seattle Bridge, into Delridge, up to Avalon, and into the junction at Alaska and California.
The size and the immensity of an elevated rail was something that I don't think we would have voted on if we had a visual representation.
The elevated options would displace as many as 160 residences and 35,000 square feet of business space, which is why some West Seattleites are pushing for a tunnel.
Why would we take 99, a smaller version of the viaduct, and build it right through the core of a community?
The tunnel option now on the table is the Blue Line that would travel north of the West Seattle Bridge, displacing closer to 70 homes and 15,000 square feet of business space. It would remain elevated through Delridge, but go underground for the Avalon and Junction stations. The problem? The Port of Seattle says the north of the bridge concept could present significant challenges to the maritime industry. Also, the estimated cost of the Blue Line would be $700 million more than what Sound Transit has budgeted, based on the voter-approved ST3.
The Purple Line, I think, is the option.
Plus, some elected leaders, like Seattle City Council member Lisa Herbold, are trying to revive the Purple option, which would cross the Duwamish River further to the south, involve a longer tunnel, but would be least disruptive to homes and businesses.
Both the community and the elected officials that represent that community have eyes that are bigger than their stomachs.
A group of elected leaders did not recommend the Purple Line for further study last year amid concerns about displacing high-voltage lines in Soto and digging through unstable soils in West Seattle's Pigeon Point neighborhood, both of which would add another $1.2 billion to the cost.
Would more study of the Purple Line further inform solid estimates?
But that hasn't stopped King County Council member Joe McDermott and Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin from considering new ways to add to Sound Transit funding and supporting the Purple option.
I think we owe it to our community to make sure that we study what we need to study.
Looking for funding for a tunnel in West Seattle it's misguided.
Ryan Packer is a senior editor for The Urbanist, who says when local leaders are talking about adding funding for light rail tunnels in West Seattle, the whole city should be listening.
West Seattle would probably prefer a tunnel, and I think most people would prefer that too, but once it becomes a citywide conversation about directing funds, then it's really hard to get on board with that.
It's going to be third and fourth and fifth party funding that is going to be necessary to make it happen.
Councilmember Herbold has vowed to find other revenue, perhaps using city transportation tax dollars, or canceling the proposed First Avenue streetcar, or even asking the Port of Seattle for help.
It's hard for me to see where the money comes from for a tunnel.
But Packer says any additional transportation money should go to the city's billion-dollar maintenance backlog, unfunded Move Seattle levy mandates, or future extensions of light rail.
When you start saying what else could we do with that third, fourth, and fifth party funding that we're talking about, with the pressing needs that Seattle has, tunnel in West Seattle just drops to the bottom of that list.
That's not the only concern about tunneling.
We'd have to be prepared for the possibility, if we do pursue something different than elevated structure, that it could take longer.
Cahill Ridge is Sound Transit's Central Corridor Director, steering the Ballard and West Seattle Link extensions through hundreds of public meetings since the passage of ST3.
It's been a tremendous amount of work.
The plan was to get light rail into West Seattle by the year 2030, but tunneling could delay that.
We're not making any final decisions at this point.
And while Sound Transit says it's still early in the process, there's an important decision coming up at the end of May, in which the Sound Transit Board will decide which options are studied in the environmental impact statement process.
If we can get that input early and identify what we should study, what people are interested in studying, and evaluate it in the EIS, we can then present to folks a very robust analysis of the trade-offs between alternatives, and that would then inform what we should ultimately build.
The dream of light rail in West Seattle that once seemed very far away is speeding ever closer, as battle lines between tunnel advocates digging in to preserve their neighborhood and transportation advocates warning about higher costs and delays are now clearly drawn.
Isn't it better to delay for another couple more years and get it right than build another 99 through West Seattle?
And I think everyone can get on the same page that we shouldn't delay the project.
There's a long way to go, but we've made quite a lot of progress this year, hopefully.